Welcome to another episode of our IO space. This week we have a very special guest and a returning veteran to talk about IO intelligence and our product releases. How are you two doing today?
Doing great, so doing great. God's been great. All good.
Doing good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to be back. Been a while since I did one of these.
It's good to have you. So let's get right into it. The first question I want to ask both of you is we've recently released IO Intelligence. What excites you about IO Intelligence? And Gaurav, I'll go with you first.
So I think the main aim when we were starting the IO intelligence was that we wanted to enable the builders by reducing the friction, creating the product for the community where they get empowered by all these powerful open source models which they can interact with and build upon. And the second thing we wanted to do initially, the first step was that we wanted more adoption to AI and Web3. That was the first step of it, right? Like in our company, we always, whenever we try to create a skyscraper, we want to add a value at each and every step. So we wanted to create this AI like super cloud, right? A Web3 super cloud. And as a part of that, DePIN came first. Then we wanted to enhance the adoption of AI to more people. We gave all these open source models to them, right? So that more and more people from Web2 can come to Web3. Now, that was the main goal. And the numbers which we see today is like we never imagined that we'll reach there, right? There were days where we had more than 1,000 users coming in using the platform. I recently went to India for a community event, and there I saw a couple of college kids who had come, and they said that they built their college projects on top of IO intelligence. Like it's a very very proud feeling as a builder where you see college kids and other enterprise people coming and building uh, products on top of your products without even marketing on that side of thing. So it was a great joy when we heard this, right? And I think in future, what we are basically doing now is because the project has gotten good number and good success. Now, recently we've started getting requests from the B2B side of the business also. So there are some players who are creating their own LLM models, and what they want is they want to train their models on uh, other models with their own like proprietary data, but that data they do not want to share with anyone else. So they want a specific instance of IO intelligence for their own. So it became a different business line altogether. So now that is coming in future, and then in long term, our idea is to create it as an ecosystem with its own economy where when people come from Web 2 to Web 3, right, they get the GPUs for free till a certain time, and then they have to pay once they're confident of what they're building and the platform. And if they do a good work, they get incentivized as a part of it. Similarly, when people come and provide data to us, which the other builders will build on, they get incentivized as a part of it. So long-term vision uh, in a goal is always to improve the adoption of AI to the Web3 players, move more and more Web2 people to Web3, enable the builders by reducing the friction. And the vision would be in long run is creating this ecosystem where your IO token is heart of the economy around this whole ecosystem. And that was the vision. And what we saw was a great adoption. And now the ask from the B2B, the businesses also to have a separate instance of this product because it's so helpful and useful to them.
And then same question over to you, sir. What excites you about IO intelligence?
Sorry, that question for me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, we have a grand plan for IO intelligence over the next few quarters. Now, if we speak about the current version that is deployed, let's call it V1, what excites me is that all the possibilities that can be done on it, may that be a developer or an everyday user, just the low-hanging use cases of everyday AI use, may that be integrating like DeepSeek with its different parameters in your coding journey, or using the latest llama for research or drafting and so on. So similar functions to what can be done on ChatGPT and so on, except with access to more like 30 top performing models in one place with a very, very high throughput and token count. That excites me how people are going to use that. Now, if you go on a deeper level, is the more relevant to the model and agent builder use case is to benchmark their top innovations or their latest innovations and models. They benchmark their performance across the top models in the world, have reference point that they can say their model is successful or not. That's a very interesting use case that I'm seeing a lot of people heading towards. And the general use case of startups building on top of our product, right? That what gives the product team or the tech team at IO the most satisfaction is seeing startups build on our APIs. May that be a Llama wrapper or an agent that uses any of our open source models APIs, or basically creating a task workflow using our upcoming agentic workflow through our MCP integration. All these are exciting use cases, and the more I hear from the community using this or requesting more features, that excites me the most about intelligence. And the second piece of excitement is the future, what we are going to be delivering and how the community and the developers are going to react to that. That being like vector DB as a service, RAG as a service, the community being able to bring their own models similar to Hugging Face, except in a obviously permissionless manner, where there could be incentives for them to bring it on the platform, host it, invite their users to use it. That's a very exciting future use case. And yeah, doubling down on the agentic workflow that's coming up very soon. It's a drag and drop UI through integration with the MCP library. I think we started the integration 2 or 3 days after it came out before it became popular right now, and everyone's trying to play with it. We were doing that days after it went out. And the end game being natural language coding for agents, the ability for everybody to code an agent basically using English. So you don't need to develop to be an AI developer or an MLOps developer to actually build an agent. That few quarters from now is what most excites me about intelligence and how the community are going to take that and what they're going to do with it.
And speaking of what devs are going to do about it, there is a plan that we have and questions that have come from the community about what we're doing to promote developers on Ion Intelligence. I know that we're planning a campaign and a hackathon for devs using IO Intelligence. Basim, maybe you could give a little teaser before we
Yeah, yeah.
release more info. Yeah.
Definitely. We'll be putting up hackathons starting next week on our Discord, where we'll invite builders to use intelligence or anybody who has the ability to use the API to build on top of intelligence, have cool ideas, have world changing ideas, if any. And obviously, that will be through reward systems and sponsoring them through compute, through token count, whatever any developer needs to build something cool on intelligence. We'll be having like a hackathon starting next week, and not just one, probably the one of many.
Great. So stay tuned, community. There will be more announcements of that coming very soon. Let's get into intelligence. The first question I have is for you, Gaurav. How does IO Intelligence contribute to real-time analytics? And can you provide an example of how this has been applied in a real-world scenario?
So I think it's a very different question, right? Because what we are in the business of is that we're basically creating as a company, we're creating the platform where we give the access to these popular models and framework which they can use and build their own models. We, as of now, haven't started working on creating our own AI agent, at least not in the near future. In future, I think in long term we have a plan to work on our AI agents, but for now we are not working on creating our own models and AI agents for now, right? But saying that, what we have seen people doing is that we have a couple of players. For example, there's one of our clients, right? I think it's already in the market also, Wonder AI, which basically is creating their own LLM, right? Where you you can basically take you can say take anyone's voice, your father's, your mother's, any recording. You can write your own lyrics, and it'll sing a song in your father's or mother's voice, the lyrics which you have written, right? Or any popular celebrity, right? There's some legal side of things also which the company is taking care of, but they created their own LLM models. They basically trained their model against some other model. So there are a bunch of things which they have done, um, or like using our platform overall. So that's one thing which is there, right? So so we as a company haven't created the model, but our customers are like using this infrastructure to do it.
Great. And I have another question for you, Gaurav, about what future developments do you foresee for IO intelligence, particularly in terms of scalability and security? I know that Steve talked about that briefly, but maybe you could expand upon that.
So I think one thing is the usage of IO intelligence is far more than what we had expected, honestly. So the first thing which we're doing is we're basically enhancing our backend to host more models at a much higher volume. So I think that's the first change which we are doing in terms of the scalability part of it, right? Then, secondly, we are actually going towards a multimodal side also, that the models are just not text based; they're like voice based, and so on and so forth, right? That's another direction we are going as a, like scaling as a platform in terms of functionality, other than like the uh, the the platform in terms of number of requests it can handle, right? Now, from the security side, there are multiple side of things. There's one security that can someone get into the system, take advantage of the system. That's one. But then there is another one also, which is that in long run, we are also creating a platform along with this, which is bring your own model. That people can bring their own model, uh, and like having an economy around it, right? And then when we pick some of the popular models from the outside world, and whenever a new update comes in of a popular model, we automatically deploy it on our system, right? Now that piece also needs a bit of automatic checking, right? Imagine like we download a popular image creation model, and it has something that you can hack the model to do something obscene, right? That will not be good for the community overall. So like making those kind of basic checks, that uh, it is still in the periphery of the Web3 side, but doesn't go in the extreme of taking advantage of the model in the wrong direction, right? That part of the system checking security, that is also what we're doing, right? Now, the other thing which we are also doing as a part of the IO intelligence, not directly related to IO intelligence, but IO intelligence depends on it for security, is the proof of work enhancement. So the model will perform as good as the hardware it is running on, right? Or data what is fed to it, right? So for the hardware which is being fed to this IO intelligence models, we want to make sure that it's of the highest most quality, and whatever like we're using is the best in the class, right? So for that, we had our proof of work enhancements, and that particular thing of like making sure that the best hardware is in our platform is a fight against the malicious people, right? So we become better to catch hold of them. Then they try to one up us, and then we have to again improve the tech. So this security like stream is going on like right from day one of the company, to make sure that our proof of work is so solid that we can make sure that the hardware which is coming to platform check is still going on. Now, the other side which we are doing for the security part also is that, because we know from our past learnings that smart contract work, audit reviews take a long time. So when we have a plan of creating the economy around this whole IO intelligence and the ecosystem going forward, it all has to be transparent on chain and so on and so forth. So obviously we have to create a bunch of smart contracts for that, and it has to be done in a way which is highly secure, because you would have heard so many stories of project getting hacked and so on and so forth. So smart contract and smart contract with the right standard of security checks and all. So we have already started working on it already for this project, which will be happening in a quarter or so in future. So these are the main things: the scalability of the platform, the model checking, the proof of work enhancements, and the smart contract and internal security changes which we're doing overall as a project in this side.
And to follow up on that, Gaurav, what are the key challenges IONet has faced while integrating IO intelligence into existing systems, and how have these been overcome?
So I think technically, when we were designing system, honestly, like we did a good job here because IO intelligence is such a game changer that internally in the company we picked the best people to build the product internally, right? So overall, like the design, the architecture, and because best of the minds in the industry were there working on the project, we didn't find challenging while building it. Now, the challenge which came was much later, which was that once we launched the product, we we didn't expect the scale. That was one. The second is that when you build a backend system in software, there's something known as multi-tenant. That as a single user, like there's a concept of multi-tenancy, right, in the system. Now, like basically, can you use it as a B2B business and somebody else, some other company can use the product. Similarly, you can use your product, and there is no uh, data being shared from one to another, and the platform should be scalable enough still, and there should be no sharing of data when some B2B business is running and you as a company are running it, so on and so forth. There's a whole concept of multi-tenancy, which will take a long time if I'll go in depth. But that thing we never imagined. We never thought that the B2B guys will come and use it. And that use case came out of nowhere. And to be honest, like when we are building a product like this, business is important, right? Because that shows that whatever you're doing has the tangible value. So that use case came out of nowhere, and people were very aggressive to take that use case also. Now, making that change in a short period of time was the challenge. It's a good problem to have, but that became tricky to solve and created multi-tenancy in the system. Otherwise, whatever we thought earlier, we were planning to build over there because the best of the people were working on it, we didn't find any challenge. But the new use cases and the depth of use cases which came, that became challenging for us.
Great. Now, let's switch over to you, Basim. Let me ask you this question. Will you add the stable diffusion model to the IO models? And will users be able to add their own models or import them directly from Hugging Face?
Yes, definitely we'll be doing that. I mean, that's the fun part of AI, right? I mean, most probably it will be done out of BC8. We've done a lot of revamp, a new UI revamp, a lot of features on BC8 side that will probably be hosting all image and video generation models out of there. I mean, obviously the latest open source models like the Stable Diffusion 3.5 and so on, we'll be bringing our own 3D model and enhancing the BC8 model as well. That's the first piece of it. So expect a similar experience on IO Intelligence, just on the BC8 side, and a lot more to come. Now, that's the first piece of it. And the second piece of it is, yes, we will enable the feature for developers and community to bring their own models. May that be importing them, may that be fine-tuned open source models and so on, similar to what you see on Civit AI that will be done out of BC8. And yeah, it should be a hub for image and video generation. That's the plan for it.
And then I have another question for you. You mentioned it earlier with the hackathons, but what is the plan to make IO intelligence more known among developers?
Yes, I mean, we've recently hired a product marketer specifically for marketing intelligence, and expect new announcements as well on the marketing team to basically have more firepower on that front. The direction we're going to be taking around the product is similar to a Web2 experience. We're going to be doing a lot of tutorials on how to use the product. May that be on YouTube, on X. We're going to showcase to the world what can be done through IONet. Effectively, that's what I'm seeing a little bit lacking. Is we're seeing a lot of usage, we're seeing a lot of people building, but it does not get voiced properly to the community. Now, if you've seen what happened with Grok, for example, the moment it went out, thousands of people just went in, tried creating mini games, creating cool stuff out of it, and just showing that to the world. So similar campaigns and efforts will be done on that front, just showcasing what can be done on IONet. And now digging into the developer experience, we have plans to double down and increase our GitHub activity, our stars commits, basically engaging in hackathons, hack houses, sponsoring university AI labs, sponsoring in-house hackathons, inviting community members to join us and build with us. All those endeavors are going to be part of our at the core of our Q2 marketing strategy to increase the developers of building on top of IO intelligence.
Now I have a question for both of you. I will start with you, Gaurav. Who is the target development audience for intelligence now and in the future? Well, Gaurav is rejoining us. Wasim, let's go to you. What is your
Yeah,
yeah?
I can take the first part. Basically, our beachhead market for intelligence, as Gaurav mentioned, has always been developers and AI enthusiasts. We had a sweet problem of a lot of B2B activity. I'll let him cover that more. But on the consumer side or the developer side, right, the market has always been we're trying to target university students and innovators who are building cool stuff and introduce to them no friction when it comes to costs, because usually when you're a university student, that's the most pain point for you. You have ideas, you're building stuff, but you cannot have all these subscriptions running. You cannot pay the tokens if you want to use any open source model and so on. So that has been the beachhead market, alongside AI developers that are more seasoned in the space, in a sense that, okay, we've started with intelligence v1, bringing the API and so on, but the way to attract these seasoned developers, the API alone, for example, is not going to be enough. You need a suitcase of services built on top to incentivize them to actually build elaborate and very complicated workflows or agents on top. And that means our Vector DB, our RAG as a service, our workflow, integration of MCP, integration of all the open source libraries that are currently used in AI infra. So that's the second piece we're targeting. And third one is the researchers in the space, people who are theoretically researching in AI. And usually those guys are at the frontier of innovation. I mean, I've been reading some few papers recently, and I saw that in 2018, for example, there was around 28 or 30 PhD papers around AI and LLMs and so on. Now in 2025, the number is 28,000 plus, and that's a massive exponential growth amongst the academia world of AI. So for researchers, we're trying to enable like benchmarking API, as I mentioned before, where they can bring in their latest innovation and benchmark it against all top performing models. That should help them pivot if needed. That tells them exactly where their models are underperforming, where they need to be fine tuning, and so on. That's have been like kind of the third subset of our B2C strategy. Now we've had a very sweet problem of business use cases that we did not necessarily plan to since day one. I'll let Gaurav speak more on that on the business side.
I think you have rightly covered everything, honestly. I'll just add to it that I personally, in my opinion, see IO intelligence as a product for right from college students to AI devs to researchers to the leisure users also, to the business side as well. Like it's everyone. It's end to end everyone, right? Imagine like I think what we missed to tell you is that very soon we're gonna launch our own app which will empower you with the IO intelligence whole platform. So there'll be normal leisure users. Imagine you're traveling to a country X. Let's say you're traveling to Korea and you want to convert your messages or the messages from English to Korean and vice versa. There'll be a model for that, right? If you are basically a college student who is just researching on a particular law topic or a particular research topic, which is a very specific knowledge domain, right? That will be there. If you're a student who's basically working on coding, the platform will have that also. So this IO intelligence platform right now is web based predominantly. So you think in that perspective, but imagine that it's a marketplace. It's a model marketplace, meaning anything and everything, as long as it's a quality model and the people and the community want it, that model would be there, right? And once an app is launched, the use cases are tremendous, right? You're traveling, you can use the models out there, right? You basically want to convert from voice to some other text, it's possible. Development possible, research possible, right? And same is the case for B2B also. In the B2B side also, I think the IO intelligence we briefly covered, that people, especially in some part of the world, in fact, some companies want a separate instance of the product. They do not want to share the data. They want to keep the data owning by themselves, right? They want, once the model is trained and ready, they also want that model to be used in an app by their own teams. That would also be the use case in future, right? People want that they create a model and their own message apps which they have, and when people wake up in the morning and the whole team was talking on the chat and they have hundreds of messages, they want a model which summarizes all these things in few lines and tells the people what's the action item, what was being discussed, and to give them the whole summary in few those kind of models. So it's basically will become a one stop shop model inventory for people, and it'll serve both B2C and B2B. And any model you need which is as good as, like, the quality is good and it's not going in a negative direction, that model will be there on the platform.
Great. Let's move on, because that wasn't the only product that IO has released. Also was co-staking. And so switching gears and moving on to co-staking, and also to our listeners, we'll answer questions after speaking of co-staking, so keep them in and keep them coming. Gaurav, let me ask you, is there a plan to create a detailed and comprehensive document about staking in the near future?
I believe the document is already there. Whenever we launch a product, documentation already comes as a part of it. If that is not the case, I would genuinely request to raise it to the in the Discord group, and please give a bit of details, like which particular piece they feel the documentation is not comprehensive, and we'll make sure that we get a ticket, and and the and the documentation teams take care of it. Honestly.
And Basim, let me pass it over to you. One of the questions comes from a worker owner who says that this feature doesn't seem to add value. Someone who already owns a device has the ability to stake. From their perspective, the system seems non functional. Could you explain what contribution this feature brings to the ecosystem?
Yes, I mean, I can see that from a worker's perspective, and we did have that in consideration while developing the product itself. If I speak about the co-staking version we have right now, it was mainly built as a core functionality to support any upgrades we may have in the future. I've seen a lot of discussions about from the community and even internally about maybe perhaps staking requirements being increased, perhaps any other changes in the network to make it more healthy. In any direction we may pivot to if needed, co-staking is a core functionality there. Now, even if from a worker perspective at this point of time might sound redundant, that does not mean that the function should not be built. We've built it to have it because when we will pivot and we need to pivot, we do not have to go back to develop all these smart contracts and have these audits and so on. So that's the core functionality of it, to be a foundational layer to any direction the network takes in the future. That's point one. Now, the second point is we are indeed engaging tokenomics expert to increase the IO utility within the ecosystem. Basically, think of it as creating a DeFi layer that is parallel to our DePIN layer on the cloud and DAI layer on the intelligence. And for that to fully function, we are going to need such smart contracts in place. We need the co-staking functionality to be in place for smooth integration of our DeFi layer in the middle. The point number two, and point number three that I would mention is that opinions can change from a worker to worker. There are some workers who basically given us that feedback that they needed this functionality, mainly if they needed to unstake to cover some operational costs that they did not foresee. Maybe they had other costs. Maybe they have internal changes in their data center, or they're upgrading their hardware, or for whatever reason, at least they needed the functionality that if they needed to pivot as well. So we've built this functionality with such large data center feedback in place. And I do see the offers and the functionality of co-staking itself being used a lot in the future. I mean, currently it's used decently. But as this specific worker portrayed, that if you're a worker already, you've already staked and so on. But that doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. So I guess that's the answer to that question.
So I have another question for you, sir. Wouldn't it be better to increase the minimum stake? For example, for max from 200 IO to between 1,000 to 2,000 IO. While this might discourage individual staking, it might push users to co-staking, as many have not been able to stake such a high amount on their own.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying, right? That's mainly even before we have such discussions, we needed to build a co-staking, we needed to audit it and launch the smart contract. Everything is in place. Now, there have been some discussions around this. As we monitor the network health, as we monitor the hardware, what makes sense economically, what makes sense operationally, we may be pivoting. Obviously, we will let the community know of any changes. So yes, there are some discussions here about increasing this. And at the core of it, again, co-staking, as Gav mentioned, and intelligence was built for the community to basically offer the chance so any IO holder or anybody in the community to contribute to the ecosystem, even if they are not hardware owners, right? Whether through co-staking or bringing models or building agents and so on. So that's still at the heart of it. Now, we're still monitoring if needed to pivot in that direction that the question asks. We will be pivoting and we will let the community know. But as it stands right now, we're not there are no exact changes at this moment. But yes, it is in consideration as we monitor more.
And then I have another question for you on co-staking. The project team mentioned buying back IO from the market and burning it. Has there been any progress on it?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that has been tied a little bit to TNE on chain. We've had discussions like, okay, we're launching TNE on chain. Is buyback going to be an integral piece of it? That caused some delays, which obviously the community is aware of, that the buyback mechanism itself, the details of it. And since we are already engaging the tokenomics expert, we're still figuring out how everything looks like, hence the delays on TNE on chain. I think where we stand right now is we'll probably be launching TNE on chain without the buyback first, and then launching it afterwards. Now, how exactly that looks like, obviously, we'll release communication very, very soon. But there are plans, yes, on the buyback of IO. Now, the burning part, not so much as it stands. Again, we always want to have the full picture first before pivoting anywhere. We want to have the community adoption. We want to let the community know before any changes. So as far as burning stands, that is not in the mix right now.
Now I'd like to move on to some questions that we've been getting for our listeners. So this first one is for you, Gaurav. Why are there no available GPUs for staking?
Because the demand for co-staking is pretty high. Whenever anybody actually puts up an order, it gets like literally booked within minutes. That's the main reason. Like if you basically are practically wanting to see that anytime you go to the platform and you should see an order, it can practically only happen either there's always like every second some new supplier coming in every second. That means your supply is infinitely growing like this way. That's one possibility, because every time like 10 suppliers will come in, two of them will need help in co-staking and they're adding. That's one practicality. Or second is that people like who already are in the network, although they have staked all the coins, they basically unstake some piece of it. That's the only possibility. Now, the first one will obviously not happen exponentially. It will happen gradually, right? When our TNE increases million by million, million by million, each time the GPUs go down, like in terms of the amount of GPUs we have free in the platform, they go down. Then we allow then the new entry at the part of the platform and the ecosystem and the network, they get added in. And when they get added in, then they basically put up this requirement or what do you call a request on the marketplace to get help, right? Now that will not happen every minute. Like, please understand. That's one. And second is whichever inventory was there in the beginning when we made this product, like all the guys who wanted help, they basically raised the help they wanted in the very, I think, first week, multiple days. And what we saw from our data was that whenever somebody was putting up an offer, within minutes they were going, like the offer was getting used. So I think that's the answer. Uh, like, are people putting up offers for coasting? The answer is yes, but it's immediately going going out. If there is any idea from you guys that you want me to send a notification out to the platform the moment somebody puts up an offer, like, that's one thing that everybody gets aware. Like, if there's any creative ideas, I'm more than game to hear it, that how we can actually improve it a bit more.
Yeah. And Awesome. Let me pass it over to you. Can we increase the IO co-staking level? I wish we could increase the co-staking level to allow offer takers to stake my workers more than 50%.
Yes, very good question. Throughout the design process of this product, we always kept in mind that co-staking starts with the word co, right? So that it's a shared endeavor, it's a shared staking, and it's a shared risk. Now, looking at the number itself, whether to allow a supplier to ask for more than 50% or whatever the number is, what you need to put in consideration is the thesis of staking itself. Staking is meant as a collateral to keep away any bad actors from joining the network and having them put out a collateral that in case any misbehavior, any messing with the binaries, anything of the sort, basically the supplier will be risking their stake. Now, if you see it from that perspective, say for example, the hardware owner can ask for 100% of their staking requirement in exchange of 20% of rewards. Now that completely nullifies the staking thesis itself, which is a collateral. Now in this case, the said supplier has no staking whatsoever. All of the risk is being taken by the co-staker. No matter how much reward is being shared, the entire risk is being taken from the co-staker. And again, that beats the thesis of staking. Like, the supplier needs to have a share in the collateral, otherwise the entire product does not work. Now, whether the number could be 50, 60, or and so on, fair enough, but we have not received much pushback on this. If at the moment we start receiving pushback, we may need to reconsider that. But as it stands, 50% is best case scenario, where both the co-staker and the supplier are allowed a maximum chance of sharing the collateral equally. Hence the number 50%.
I'm seeing a thematic occurrence with several questions I would like to ask both of you on. It's about, what are your predictions on the future of AI, decentralized compute, and how it connects to what IO intelligence will be in the future? Basim, we'll start with you because you spoke about intelligence in the future, and if you could give us what you think will be in the space in the next 5 years and how intelligence will continue to evolve with it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, if I cover it from both fronts, right? The decentralized compute itself. Now, we all know that AI is here to stay. Same like at some certain point of time, there was no internet, and then suddenly there is internet, and everything started being built on top of it. Likewise, the AI, like, there is not a single person in the world that would dare say AI is not going to be here in 5 years. So everybody knows it. It's just here to grow. And referring to the research paper study I just mentioned earlier, if you extrapolate on that 5-6 years ahead, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of research papers on AI, and definitely that is going to become products. May that be automated vehicles, 100%. May that be software. May that be whatever. These papers always result in products one way or the other. And regardless, nobody can 100% predict where AI is heading, but what everyone can agree on is no matter where it heads, it always needs compute in the back end. That's the core thesis of IO, right? It could go in a robotics direction, it could go in a software direction, it could go into agents direction. However it goes, it still needs the hardware in the end, and IONET, as the largest decentralized cloud provider, will always serve these builders no matter what direction they take. That's from the cloud side. Now, on the intelligence side, again, like, our beachhead has been university students, where usually all innovation starts there. college dropouts, people who are learning on one side and building on the second side, and so on. So the future for intelligence is, and I would frame it in one word if possible, it would be a decentralized Hugging Face, where you can find models, you can find agents, you can find tools, you can find characters, everything you need on your AI journey in one place. You can find an individual dev environment. You can find a end-to-end code, fine-tune, build your model, host it, bring your users, incentivize it, earn from it, everything on IO Intelligence. That's the futuristic vision I have. And it becomes an integrated, same like Cloudflare is an integrated part of any service, or how Visa and MasterCard are an integrated part of transactions, that it just taken for it gets taken for granted, right? Almost every transaction in the world goes through these networks. Same thing with IO Intelligence. I'm seeing in the future that we want it to be an integrated part of the AI journey of every single person on the world.
And Gaurav,
Gaurav,
over to
if you want
you.
to add more
Anything?
to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's well covered, to be honest. Like, nothing else needs to be added. Like, if people haven't seen Hugging Face, I'll just motivate them to go check out Hugging Face, and just imagine how Hugging Face can be powered with the power of decentralization and tokenomics and incentivization, and how much adoption can happen if you empower that kind of platform with incentivization for motivating people from Web2 to come to Web3. It's a very novel idea. I think not many people are doing it in the industry. So you will see, like, when we actually build this, as I say always, like, build a skyscraper floor by floor, you will start to connect all these things and see, okay, what a grand vision we have in long term.
Following up on that, Gaurav, there is a question about how Flock integration into IO Intelligence and what that will lead to as possibilities. If you could speak to that.
I think the best guy to speak about that is Tosif, because I think we are doing some more integration and things right now. And I was in the event to India recently, so I was caught up there. And Tosif was talking more in detail. I think it'll be best that we keep this question for Tosif for the next time. Honestly, he can add much more value to that, because there've been some recent discussions and progress on that side where Tosif was involved, because I was out of the office in the last few days because of the recent event.
So another reason to join next week's AMA and space. Moving on to another question that we've had that we're seeing thematically is, how does IEO utilize our team in order to continually innovate on the product end? And I'll start with you, Basim.
Yeah. Can you please repeat the question? I'm
Sure.
having
So
trouble understanding it.
how do we utilize our team to continually be innovative, as you put, in an ever evolving space?
Yes, I think the way I think of our team and how we're evolving, and to double down on what Gaurav said, right? We always aim to be the foundational layer. May that be for decentralized AI or decentralized compute. Always the foundation is always the winner, because no matter who builds on it, you don't have to pick a winning horse. Let everybody build on top of you. Whoever wins wins. That's all of them share one thing in common, which is the foundation. That's what we're aiming to build. That will allow us to evolve constantly, is supporting AI developers, supporting builders, supporting compute clients, supporting all of them through our foundation. First of all, we did the hardware done, like the DePIN part, hundreds of thousands of GPUs, and then we conquered that. Now, second we did is the orchestration layer. We've built that, also conquered it. Like soon you're gonna see bare metal, Kubernetes, Nomad clusters, container as a service, PyTorch containers, partner containers, whatever is needed to build on top of the hardware is going to be there very, very soon. And the third part being, you can think of it vertically as a pyramid, right? Now, the third part being IO Intelligence, which is the AI infra suitcase of products or features and so on. We're building that. Now, and that's the thesis we have at IO, is by always being the foundational layer, whether hardware or software, we will always win. No matter what trend the market takes, instead of chasing narratives, instead of chasing things left, right, and center, by being the foundation and by being the best one out there, whoever wins is going to win on top of our foundation. That's how we're going to keep evolving. Now, that doesn't mean we will not innovate. Personally, to be honest, every now and then, the team is really enthusiastic. We have like multiple PhD paper researchers in the team that they have very cool ideas on agents, on how to interact, game theory algorithms, all those things. So definitely we will empower the team to innovate on top of our infra, but mainly to show the world, okay, like internally what can be built. Like we've built the foundation and we went one step ahead and we've built something cool on the foundation, which is the IO Intelligence or IO Cloud. Come do the same. So that's how we're going to keep evolving as a team and winning.
Great. We have a question about staking. Will you enter a normal stake without assigning tokens to select sets or workers? Gaurav, I'll hand it over to you first.
To be honest, I don't even understand the question. Can you repeat?
No worries whatsoever.
Guys, that shows like all these questions are like we're literally seeing on the fly.
I think it covers like a staking pool rather than
Right.
individual staking on hardware, I'm assuming. So like
Can
another
you
form of staking without the friction of choosing offers effectively.
can you repeat like Jake once more?
Sure. It is, will you enter a normal stake without assigning tokens to select sets or workers? Person who entered the question. If you want to update it, obviously, more context, more clear answers.
Yeah, like guys, if somebody can actually like whoever wrote this question, if you can actually write it in the chat here, more descriptive, more than happy to answer now itself. Honestly, we can go to
Let's.
the next question,
Yep.
and the respective person can comment here in the chat, and we'll take it up immediately.
Yep. The next question is: are you planning to create new usage areas for IO?
Yes, the answer is yes. Basam, do you want to cover it, or I should steal your
No,
lightning?
no, please go ahead. I covered some aspects already by
Yep.
engaging experts, by creating a DeFi layer in parallel to our DePIN and DII layers. So yes, definitely there is in the mix, there is in the play.
Go for it, Basam.
We just don't want
Go for it.
to, yeah, we just don't want to unilaterally move on these things, but we do have the vision that putting the token in the heart of the ecosystem and integrated in every single function, every single product, every single feature. And a lot more of that is going to come out soon where the community can review that and understand it even more. I know we're building a lot of stuff, so tying the dots together might be challenging. And that's exactly what we're working on. How everything plays together. What do we mean when we say super cloud? You have decentralized AWS, you have decentralized Hugging Face, two parallel verticals. Now, how the intersection looks like is something for the community to expect from us.
So I think I'll just add to Basim. Like we work in a bit different way compared to the other companies, Jake, right? Because we take our plans quarter by quarter. Although we have a grand vision, we take it quarter by quarter, and we basically evaluate the feedback from our users on a quarterly basis, and then we basically see what we are doing, what our grand vision is, and then we see okay, what is the subset, and then we plan for it. So our plan is always quarter by quarter in terms of execution, right? And the other fundamental thing which we have learned from our experience in the past year is that we have our own strengths and we don't believe in speculation, right? So whenever you basically say, I'm going to create this AI agent, and I'll spend 1 year, you're basically speculating there that whatever I'll create, that'll be the thing, right? And the second thing which we actually see also is what we are strong in. So we, as Basim said, we basically have multiple PhDs. We have people from Amazon's of the world, Google's of the world, right? We basically know and we are strong in creating platforms. And we have realized that creating platform is a short ticket to winning because whoever builds whatever model, whatever AI agent, people are lazy. I myself am lazy, right? People eventually want to have an easier life and they want to focus just on their business side of things. So we are, as a company, creating products that we alleviate the problems which these builders have, which is not their business domain, right? Which is like deploying scaling, inferencing, figuring out what are the comparative models which they're building, which already exist in the market, figuring out which particular hardware those models perform the best, so on and so forth, right? There are many problems which these builders have. And we are great at it because we actually have built platform for scale. We have people who have done it from last 10 years. So the amount of quality work which we can do out there is far higher and superior compared to just speculating, like if we write this AI agent, right? Saying that, we do, if we have PhDs who are doing AI work from years, like they are well capable of writing AI agents. But again, when we take a look at what platform we have, what our customer needs in the near future, and which can add the real value to the ecosystem and can bring the actual business in to the company, that's what we prioritize rather than speculating. And that's always been the platforms which, like Bassam told about, right? No, so I think that's the way we think about it. And I think in terms of our top level, I think I can keep going in examples of product, but what we are focusing on is in three different layers. One layer is that our flywheel of DePIN has already started, right? People are like already using, all the new projects are using our uh, inventory left, right, and center, right? So now Web 2 people are also coming. Like we have multiple Web 2 users also now. So what we have realized now is to move more and more bigger players from the Amazons of the world and Googles of the world, which they're already using, and we moved one of them to our platform. We need products which they are using on Amazon and Google to make their life easy and build it on IO platforms, right? Like the sage makers of the world and so on and so forth, right? Like we are building those platforms which will help them to move away from Amazons and Googles to us and our platform. That's one line of stream of work which we are doing. Second line of stream of work we're doing is to helping the community by IO intelligence, bringing best of the models, scaling it, and then creating this multi-tenant solution that all the companies which are asking for all these things, they can come. And the third thing is this agentic framework where people like who have never touched tech and they're recently learning the AI ecosystem, they just know what the agents are. They can basically go to the platform, do some drag drop of the basic agents, and create their own agent out of these basic agents, right? With a minimal amount of tech. And then over a period of time, they can learn on our platform and can become better builders out there. So that's a third stream. So these are the three in the near future we are working on, but we're going on offsite very soon in a couple of weeks. I'm very sure when all these like builders, when they again get back in a room, there are a lot of creative ideas are coming and which we'll be doing the next 3 months. Like for example, we are already working in parallel for decentralized storage, the data piece. So that's also there. But which particular stream we will double down more on will be dependent on the feedback of the our users, which we have already taken, and what the market is doing. Now, in 2 weeks, when we go in this offsite, you will very soon hear a lot of creative ideas and innovative ideas and the plan for next quarter very soon.
Intelligence and ghost taking are not the only products. There's also BC8. And we have a question about BC8 that I want to give over to you, Bassam. Someone wants to work in BC8, but they've noticed it's being upgraded and is not available. Can you explain what we can expect and how long before the upgraded BC8 is open?
Yes, definitely. That's the kind of questions I like hearing. Yeah, I mean, we've done some cool designs, obviously, an entire revamp of BC8. We've done some pipeline changes. We're introducing, as I mentioned, like 3D models, video generation models, improving the BC8, like the OG model itself. So all of those, expect them very, very soon. Now, everything is done when it comes to BC8 from a product perspective is just choosing the perfect release time at this point. So I think, Gaurav, what was the last deadline we had for BC8? Just approximately?
I think we were planning by the end of this month to be launching with these new models overall.
Yeah, exactly. So we've built everything
With,
back end, front
with a
end,
new
and so
version of
on.
the
We're
UI
about,
and everything. With the new
yeah,
versions of the
yeah.
UI and
So
everything.
exactly, everything is done. What we're doing right now is we have selected a few developers who from the community who are building on top of it. Now, I would encourage you to reach out to me in DM to be part of that. So what I wanted for the release is not just what we've done. I wanted to release it with few models from the community as well, from our innovative AI builders, and we're going to release with that. And soon, very very soon after, even in the same time, we're going to release the bring your own model feature as well, and that's where people can import models, deploy them on INET, and generate users for them. A lot of cool ideas there we're having. But for the product release, please stay tuned. It's coming out very soon. And as of the question asker personally, please reach out to me to have the chance to build on BC8 before it gets released.
All right. I'd like to thank, and we'll close up there. I'd like to thank the listeners and people that provided questions from our community. I've obviously liked to like our speakers. As we announced, we will be tweeting out 3 special listeners that will be receiving massive boxes of IO swag that we'll be sending to you. So check your DMs for more notification, and we'll be tweeting out the winners of it. We've got Hackathon coming up next week, and a lot of interesting more AMAs, Discord announcements. So stay tuned. Make sure your notifications are on in the channel, and get ready for more updates coming up next week. We're going to be talking with our partner, Wandera, about some of the things that were discussed. Gaurav mentioned it at the beginning of the discussion. It's going to be a great chat. Thank you all very much. See you all next week.